At 2:38 a.m., a quiet Crimean night turned into history. There were no sirens, no alarms, no warnings, just a sudden burst of fire that swallowed one of Russia's most untouchable air defense bases whole. A fortress worth nearly $500 million disappeared in minutes, and the terrifying truth was that it wasn't destroyed by stealth bombers or hypersonic missiles, but by a swarm of cheap drones no bigger than a backpack, flying so low and so silent that Russia's most advanced radars never even noticed them until it was far too late. The question left behind was larger than the blast itself. If this base could fall, what else is vulnerable? This wasn't an ordinary base. It was the crown jewel of Russia's defenses in Crimea. Spread over more than 1.5 square miles, the site was packed with S-400 launchers capable of striking targets 200 miles away. Pantsir S-1 systems to guard the skies at short range, and multi-spectrum radars designed to detect everything from stealth jets to cruise missiles. On paper, it was impenetrable. Russian media proudly called it the Sky Shield of Crimea. But within 90 seconds of the first strike, that shield didn't just crack, it collapsed completely. At 2:01 a.m., 19 drones slipped into contested airspace. They weren't futuristic stealth aircraft or million-dollar machines. They were improvised scythe long-range UAVs, Beaver FPV drones. Cheap, rugged, and expendable. Alone they were insignificant, but together they were lethal. Flying nap of the earth, hugging hills and rooftops, they stayed under radar beams. They carried no GPS, no active signals to jam. Instead, onboard AI compared live video with preloaded maps, guiding them like ghosts across the dark terrain. By the time Russian operators noticed faint blips flickering on radar screens, the swarm was already inside the perimeter. The base scrambled to respond. Pantsir batteries fired missiles. Autocannons roared into the night sky. But the drones were too small, too low, and too slow. Their radar signatures were smaller than birds. Missiles detonated against empty air. Autocannons hesitated, fearful of striking fuel tanks. Screens flickered, orders clashed, and within moments 17 out of 19 drones slipped through untouched. The Sky Shield of Crimea had been reduced to nothing more than smoke and panic. Once inside, the drones executed a precise kill mission. The first group slammed into the radar command hub, blinding operators and severing communications. The second group targeted underground fuel lines, triggering eruptions that lit up the night like a second sun. The third team struck the vehicle yard, turning parked armored trucks and missile containers into a chain reaction firestorm. Every strike hit a nerve center, every explosion stripped away function, and in less than 5 minutes the base was crippled beyond recognition. The deadliest strike came when one drone dived directly into the 91 N6E Big Bird radar, the crown jewel of the S-400 system, worth more than $100 million. It was designed to track hundreds of targets across vast distances. One strike, one fireball, and it was gone. With the radar destroyed, every S-400 launcher on site was blinded. The kill chain collapsed, and the entire southern Crimean air defense grid went dark. Western analysts later estimated direct material losses at nearly $250 million. But the real cost wasn't money. It was confidence. A fortress defended by radars, missiles, and autocannons worth hundreds of millions had been humiliated by drones costing less than $5,000 each. Russia hadn't just lost equipment that night. It lost faith in its own shield. This wasn't the first time drones had exposed cracks in modern defenses. In 2019, swarms struck Saudi Aramco facilities, briefly cutting global oil production in half. In 2022, drones reached Russian airfields deep inside its own borders. Time and again, cheap drones have revealed that expensive defenses are not invincible. But this strike was different. This wasn't a soft target. This was Russia's most fortified jewel, the fortress it believed could never fall, and it burned to the ground in front of the whole world. Inside Russia, officials rushed to downplay the event. State media called the damage minor, but satellite images told a different story. Scorched wreckage, destroyed radars, fuel depots still burning. In the West, analysts called it a doctrinal collapse, a Cold War-era defense grid built to stop bombers and cruise missiles had been shredded by improvised drones. Ukraine hadn't needed stealth fighters or hypersonic missiles. It needed creativity, and it exploited the soft underbelly of a system designed for another century. The implications went far beyond Crimea. This was a preview of the wars to come, a glimpse into an era where swarms of cheap, expendable machines can cripple the most advanced defenses on Earth. If Ukraine, a nation under siege, could blind a fortress with improvised drones, what happens when nations like Iran, North Korea, or even non-state groups refine the same strategies? The age of brute force is ending. The age of smart swarms has arrived. When the smoke finally cleared, one image stood out above all others: the silhouette of the Big Bird radar, engulfed in flames, glowing red against the night sky. It was more than a piece of hardware burning. It was a monument to an old way of war, made obsolete in real time. That night, Russia didn't just lose equipment. It lost control, it lost time, and most importantly, it lost the ability to see what was coming next. Because in modern warfare, the side that owns the first 5 minutes owns the battlefield.